You ready for this?
I'm ready, dude.
Okay, here we go. Again, I didn't practice this enough. Welcome back to the Shooters Only Paintball Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Hernandez. I am very excited to our next interview. This is week number 4. This is a guy who I've been happy to team up with in the past on many different projects. I've got some funny stories that we'll share today about him too. But you might know him as the creator of the Utah Woodsball Series and his band of friends. This is Kaden Hanks, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome. Mr. Kaden.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Pleasure.
You drove all the way from Ephraim.
Yep.
That's one of the topics that I want to talk about today. Look at that segue right into it. Just kidding. No, Ephraim. I wanted to share a story to let us off. I remember, I don't know if you remember, you posted a game way back when, and you said, hey, I'd love for the Utah paintball players to come out and come to my field. Hey, you know, no one knew we had a field out in Ephraim. Yeah. And he posts this on Utah paintball players, and I comment there, and I'm like, hey, that's 2 hours down, 2 hours back. That's not even enough playing time. I'm probably not going to make it, right? And here I am. This is pre-shooters only. So the shooters only mantra is you drive as far as you need to, and you do whatever you need to get to the game to play. So this is obviously like 4 or 5 years ago, or about 3 or 4 years ago ish. Yep. And I think that spurred kind of. I don't think that was the moment for you that spurred this huge series or this thought process. But here I was from Salt Lake, unwilling to make the drive, and I'm really happy I did now.
Yeah,
and
it worked out.
You created something that is really interesting. I wanted you to kind of tell the people kind of about Utah Woodsball and what that's about.
Yeah, so, I mean, kind of the way it came about is, and a lot of you can probably relate, that it's fun to paintball when you're paintballing with 5 or 6 people. You can still have a really good time. Yeah. Like some of the funnest times I've ever paintballed have been 3-on-3, 5-on-5. Like it can be a good time. Mm-hmm. But for me, and I think for a lot of us, it's way funner if you can play with 20, 50, 100, 2,000, people. And so kind of the way it started was we were paintballing in Ephraim. I've been paintballing in Ephraim for 20 years. Yeah. And we were getting that kind of a turnout. We're getting 5, 6 guys, and it's, you invite 50, 20 promise are going to show up, and then 8 actually do.
Here's one of the things to kind of interject there. You guys have awesome gear. Like, you guys are playing with some awesome gear all the way out there in Ephraim, kind of on your own little island. For those of you that don't know, Ephraim is about 2 hours from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, 2 hours south of Salt Lake City.
About 1 hour from kind of major metro on that I-15 stretch. Yep. Kind of what we're dealing with today. We're in Springville. I didn't really even announce where we're at. I probably should have said that, but maybe I can segue.
It's an interesting spot.
Segue a little bit later. We had to secure a great location for a great guest. Art City Diners, where we're at in Springville, Utah. Shout out to Chad and Job. Shout out to the owner. I'll be sure to get his name and plug his name right here and say thank you for that, for giving us the stage today and allowing us to shoot this podcast. Yeah,
way better than a cold car. Cold, dark car.
We were going to be in a cold, dark car. I was like, man, I don't know if that's going to work. Not at least for the viewers.
Yeah.
But no, and to kind of get back on that, I was like, you guys had some great gear. I was like, man, you guys are really into it. And then just to hear that you only had a player base of 5 or 6 people, you're like, hey, we've got to expand. So it dawns this kind of social media push. It dawns this organization more of Utah Woodsball. Tell me, again, kind of how that developed and how that kind of unfolded for you guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were paintballing with 5 or 6 people, which is great. But, we have a couple of my buddies and I have been doing this for a long time. And so we have these visions of, in the past when Utah paintball was huge and, of paintballing with 400 or 500 people at Aliens in the Rockies. And once you've done that, it's hard to kind of go back and at least you still have that kind of memory of, wow, that was really sweet. So anyway, that's kind of how we got started into it, was we just wanted to play with more people. And I kind of kept waiting for like somebody to kind of do it, you know? And it just, I didn't see anybody doing it at the time. This was a couple years ago. And so I figured that I guess it was me. Yeah. So anyway, again, it came to social media, which is way different from when I was playing, 10 or 15 years ago. It wasn't around back then, which totally revolutionizes, paintball and gathering and the community of paintball.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I started commenting in forums kind of before I knew what I was doing, and I was surprised about the engagement in forums because paintball lived in forums prior to
Long time. Yep. PB Nation.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yep.
And I got some great answers, and kind of connecting those dots. It was so much easier once Facebook kind of took off your internal groups and they developed that.
Yep.
But shout out to them being able to just bring the community, and also, we'll speak to Derek Jones later. I guess technically, he was the guy that kind of founded Utah Paintball Players and brought a lot of people together just in that information and in that forum. So now allowing us to kind of plant those seeds and for your Utah Woodsball Series to be a success. Tell me kind of how was that first game? What did that look like?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So we kind of came up with this idea of kind of what the core of the Utah Woodsball Series is kind of what Jordan already alluded to, that, playing with more people, playing together, but traveling to kind of do so. Because that's the thing, is there's pockets of paintball all over Utah, but we're all just kind of separated by 100 miles, 50 miles, 200 miles. You have a big player base in Salt Lake. You have a big player base in St. George. You have guys all the way in between, up into the Cache Valley area. And so part of the Utah Paintball Series is we travel kind of around the state, and in the hopes that people will come out. If we go to St. George, of course, you're going to get all the St. George guys, the hardcores, but then you're also going to get people we've had people come from Logan all the way to games in Nevada. We actually had people come to Ephraim, to our field in Ephraim for one of our events from Texas.
Jeez,
which
look
was
at that.
Insane.
That's awesome.
And so, back to our first event. Our first event was at Hobble Creek Paintball up Springville. Most of you guys watching have probably been up there, guys and gals. Yeah. It's a sweet little field. It's a great location as far as its proximity to a lot of the metro areas, and it's kind of right in the middle between like Salt Lake and a lot of these southern areas. So
agreed.
Yeah, we had our first event there, and in my head I was hoping like 30, 40 people would have been a blast.
Yeah.
And when I pulled up really early, like an hour early, hour and a half early, and there was already like 10 cars there. I'm like, all right, this is good.
there's your 30-ish already.
Yeah, I was like, okay, today's a success. Like right from the get-go, I'm like, this is already going to be good.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, we had cars parking down the highway. I've got drone shots of it. If you've seen some of our videos, you probably have seen those shots, but it just filled up. We had, I think it was either 74 or 75 people.
That's insane.
Totally blew my expectations. It was a blast. We had a ton of fun.
Was that one in the snow? It was kind of earlier in the year.
Yeah, it was
like a March-ish.
I think it was like March, April.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah,
so that's a free to use field.
Yep.
You followed kind of that model of let's just gather people, let's shoot paint, let's get resources, get air. I know you teamed up with Saints on some of the resources and stuff. Shout out to Matt.
Yep.
Hope to have you on the podcast eventually.
He's an awesome resource. Awesome guy.
He shows up with his truck. Everyone's ready to go, and admission is free.
Free. Yep.
Look at that.
It's not about money. It's never been about money.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the hardcore ballers know that and can feel that. It's just about the experience, about having fun, bringing the community together, because the paintball community is a blast. They're freaking weird. They're fun. They're crazy. So it's just a lot of fun. So, yeah, there's no entry to any of our games. There's no cost associated with that.
Nice.
We do try to offer, like, air, paint sales to kind of provide or to support our vendors. So, like, you've sold paint at some of our events. Sure. Saints Paintball and Matthew have sold paint. Cody May down in St. George has sold paint. So we try to support these guys who are kind of the pillars of the paintball community in their businesses.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to keep it as cheap or free, or as close to that as we can.
Right. And I think you look at some of the roadblocks as why paintball isn't being played, maybe even through a weekday for whatever reason, right? It's like, I get off of work, I do this, I do that.
Yep.
Of course, we in Utah, we play on Saturdays. Everywhere else in the nation, they play on Sundays, gun owner days.
Sunday would be the
like
bigger
that.
days, yeah.
Yeah, and we've kind of got that difference here in Utah, and it's a little bit of a different flavor, but you're able to pull that many people and be like, yeah, I'm signing up for the 3-4 hour drive if I'm in Logan or St. George.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's go play some awesome paintball. So I think, obviously, congrats on the success there.
Thank you.
You're on season 2, 3? What are we looking at?
2021 will be season 3.
Nice.
Yep.
And then you have some big plans for that. Kind of what's
yeah. So
anything up your sleeve?
really interesting times right now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the pandemic, all the political stuff going on has put in some ways a damper on what we've been trying to do. We had some really cool connections for last fall set up that fell through because we weren't supposed to gather and all that. So So anyway, there have been some challenges that way. We do have an event coming up in a couple of weeks, which is going to be a blast. Many of you will have seen video or have been to the Abandoned Cement Factory out in Nevada. It's only like an hour or 45 minutes south of St. George. But we're going to be playing there on the 30th of January from our typical like 10 to 2. Some guys will show up early. Some will stay late. Some will come the night before. So it's going to be an awesome game. There's going to be guys coming from, we have a whole core of players in Nevada now who are coming that we've got connections with down there. They're going to have paint for sale. They've got a compressor. So we're going to actually have legit, air. It's going to be an awesome game. Hopefully we'll have a big showing from Utah.
Yeah. So Utah people, with that information right there, I mean, number one, it's one thing if we're just running out into the desert to go play in the Nevada desert. That is not what we're doing.
No,
we're
that sounds
playing
weird,
That is weird. That is the Vegas player. That's like the Vegas Woodsball.
Yeah,
I didn't realize there was such a big following. I was lucky enough to go to Cement Factory, I think about a month ago or so, and go enjoy some good weather while it was snowing up here. And they showed out 60, 70 strong.
Yep.
Ready to have a Utah versus Vegas game, and we fell short. We did. I mean, we only had about 10, 15 guys there. Most of them from St. George. But regardless of that, they showed up so strong. And I'm like, man, I would not initially think that Vegas community is such a Woodsball-oriented place. You've got a lot of good, established tournament fields.
Yep.
Some, a little bit on play on the scenario, but a lot of people were really willing. Let's go to the Cement Factory and let's show up and let's show out. So shout out to Vegas. I'm excited to play against you guys. I know I kind of hinted it earlier. Hopefully we can have that Beehive trophy.
It'd be fun.
With a conflict between Vegas and Utah for the first time ever. I think that'd be really sweet. They're definitely willing to travel. So I appreciate you organizing that because I'm excited to, be a player in that and immerse myself in the Cement Factory. One thing that you mentioned about the Utah Woodsball Series, we've kind of done a little bit of a tour so far. We were on episode 4, and you have Chad's videos who's, first person's perspective, captures some of those stagnant angles and creates some really good content. I think your content is very different than Chad's, but in its own way, such a good cinematic take on paintball. I have that burned memory when I first started YouTubing paintball stuff, and it's like, that Living Legends video where it was absolutely wild. There's girls dancing and stuff. It's like, what is this? What's happening here? Is this paintball? And everyone running up for that slapstick.
Yep, the slapstick.
You know what it is,
Super
right?
Super famous. Getting shot 300 times to slap it. Yeah.
So
stupid, but I would never do it. But
you're not ready for that.
No, I'm not brave enough.
But you'll dump. You'll dump a whole.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So I have that burned into my head, and I think what's so awesome about your content with what you put out, it's like, man, that cinematic flavor really comes out in all your videos, and it's something that's very easily shared. I think someone from off the street is going to know, oh, this is pretty cool. You've got nice establishing shots. You've got drone. You've got some production value in what you do. Tell me a little bit about that.
We tried to. I mean, I'm the type of person, I've got a lot of hobbies. I think a lot of paintballers are that way. We're not just paintballers. We're outdoorsmen. We're hunters. We're a lot of different things. We're basketball players. So for me, I love shooting video. And so it's kind of segued really nicely into paintball because it's helped promote a lot of our events. I think actually we talked about social media. One of the biggest things on social media is video. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, the videos have been huge for promoting Utah Woodsball and hopefully Utah paintball in general. Because I've seen the same videos. You get on YouTube and you see some of these awesome. I watch a lot of videos like about Super Game, about Oklahoma D-Day. I'm a big scenario paintball guy. I love the big events, Living Legends. I mean, there's some sweet stuff out there. So I mean, that's kind of why I started shooting that way. And I'm very different. I love the videos you've done, and I love the videos Chad's done, and it's just kind of funny how different the three of us are. And
everyone's got their own style.
Yeah,
for sure.
and I love how consistent Chad is. He's always putting out content. It seems like multiple times a week, but maybe that's just me seeing him. But yeah, it's fun that there's some creators in Utah where you can see the Utah fields, you can see the paintballers that are local. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
No, that's awesome. And I think to kind of expand on that, the irony of this is you start a Woodsball series to bring and connect with more people, to have better battles. And while you lead the charge on the Utah Woodsball Series, I bet you're doing less playing and more organizing.
Yep.
Grabbing the camera, which is it's a role that every paintball player should have some sort of appreciation for someone that grabs the camera instead of their gun and runs out onto the field.
Yeah.
Because that camera is probably more expensive, and just to be in a great location to just relax and play and like enjoy the camaraderie. It's like, hey, I'm going to capture these moments because I want to share. Like that's like a higher purpose of kind of what you're doing. So
hopefully it's getting the word out there and spreading it. I mean, paintball is one of those things you always want to share with people. It's fun to have your friends come play with you.
Right.
So I mean, hopefully the videos that all of us shoot are helping to do that, helping to promote the sport, especially here in Utah. Because we have such a great history of paintball and some fun stuff, and you know, hopefully the future is even brighter than that.
Right.
So,
and I think our content is something that connects with a lot of people nowadays. I think we're so close to bridging that gap between the people that jump on Call of Duty and jump on, you know, these video games and kind of immerse themselves in that, and then all of a sudden find themselves, you know, 3-4 hours deep in gaming, and it's just like my eyes are, you know,
bleeding
already, ready to fall out of my face. And here this is an opportunity to go grab a loadout. Go ahead and create your loadout, customize your loadout, and let's hit the field and test what skills that you think you might have and develop that, you know. And I think it definitely has something for everyone, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So,
I mean, you have guys like me. I love laying paint down. I love shooting paint. You have guys that are super quick. I mean, there's so many different spots for everybody, and you can play a different way every game too. Right. I mean, so it's kind of fun, and again, it kind of brings it to life. If you're out there, and for me, it's kind of fun because I love the outdoors. I love guns in general. I love hunting, that kind of stuff. And so paintball is kind of like that fun kind of mixture between a lot of the different stuff that a lot of us enjoy. Yeah. So it's again bringing it to life. You're doing it for real. You're not just sitting on your couch in your mom's basement. You know, you're out there in the real world. You know, outside playing. Yeah, exactly. And I think you know, I'm trying to find like a reason to train like post football, post high school, post anything, you know, and try to just get back into shape and just be able to do different things on the field. And I actually find that that's some of my motivation now of like, hey, I'd love to get in the gym and run a few miles now, because it's like when I get onto the field, I'm going to be way more effective. I'm not going to be tapping out by lunchtime like, no, I'm good. I don't want any more to do with this. You had enough.
So I think you find different aspects like this. I think this hobby has a lot of depth to it. You know what I mean? It's not just surface level stuff. I think you're able to immerse yourself. And I think why I'm expanding on this so much is because you have the ability to kind of connect those people and be able to pull those people off the couch. You know, you've got those resources. You have a free to play game. I know every single person that's going to come out to Utah Woodsball is like, I've got a backup gun, even if you can't find rental or whatever. You know, it's like, yeah, let's put this gun in your hand and go have a great time. You know, I think expanding the player pool, allowing for more people to shoot is always a good thing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's one of those things you want to share. To me, the camaraderie of paintball is kind of like the same thing of like, to me, like BMX, even motocross racing in general. There's a different feeling. It's almost like we're not competing against each other. It's almost like we're all just out there together just to, you know, to have fun. Yeah. So I've always really enjoyed that about paintball. And it just keeps it fun. You're just out there, have a good time. Everybody, you know, if you see somebody make a killer move, even if they're not on your team, it's still fun. I mean, you still want to go up and slap them on the back, and, you know, hopefully somebody got it on video. Yeah. Chad probably did.
Chad probably did. That's a great point, because you have it to where I find myself, I love what you just said there, because, when you get shot and you're like, man, that was a killer move, more often than not, you're yelling back to them as you're walking back to the spawn, like, that was awesome.
Dude, nice shot. Like, I don't know how you got that through that tree, but nice work.
That's a good point. I love that point. I think, even the enemy team is still out for the same reason.
Yeah. And the next game, you're probably going to be mixed up anyway, and some of the guys you just shot are going to be on your team. Yeah. So, I mean, it's all good. It's all together. So,
yeah, that's good. And I think, you know, kind of that player experience, one thing I wanted to really segue with you was we've got the producers aspect of Aliens in the Rockies with Alan Turner, who has gotten a lot of engagement on YouTube and brought a lot of, I could say, old paintball players out of hiding. It's like, you know, their lives have taken a turn, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I remember that. And we're getting stories shared every day on YouTube. So thank you for doing that. Tell me a little bit about what Aliens in the Rockies was to you. That's the mecca, huh? You used to tell me, you're like, dude, like, I'm excited for your field. Like, we got to try to get to Aliens in the Rockies level. Like, this is the big deal in Utah. So tell me a little bit about as a player.
Yeah. So I started paintballing in 2000. So I was 8 years old. And and it wasn't, you know, when you start out, I just had a pump or whatever. It was nothing. It was a piece of plastic from Walmart. Like, it wasn't a big deal. But
The blue one?
Yeah,
Was it
no,
the blue one?
mine was blue. My brother's was green.
Nice. Okay,
So,
they had color
yeah,
options.
They
That's
did,
good.
yeah. The whole thing was plastic. It was a piece of crap. But anyway, you know, as I started growing up into paintball, like, aliens was that one thing. Like, Alan kind of mentioned it. Like, people would come out one time a year, and they would go to aliens. Like, it was good enough that they would keep their gear. They would, you know, revamp everything once a year to just go out and play. And for me, just growing up, going to aliens, like, there's just something about it. I think there was a couple things. Like, the field was really good.
Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of it was just natural, you know, kind of like Alan said, you know, a lot of it was just kind of there. It had a big hill on it. It had some lowlands. There was some like old machinery on it. It had some trees.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a really cool field. And way more important than that was the way Alan ran it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can tell just from your conversation with Alan,
Yeah.
this is a smart guy. Like, this guy is intelligent, like, maybe above average for paintball. Like, this, he's a really intelligent guy. And so you could tell, like, his event was very well organized.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell it was created for all of us to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, he had you could tell he invested a lot of stuff into it. He had all these, you know, the aliens, the Terminators, the guys out there. I mean, I could tell you a story. So one time they had a night game.
Mm-hmm.
So they had it every year. I think it was Friday night. You go up, they have a night game. So you're out there paintballing. It's I don't remember how many acres. It was a big field.
Yeah.
And you're out there with, it seemed like most times it was 400 or 500 guys. The night game had a little less. But you're out there, and me and my buddy Kyle, who we've been paintballing together forever, we're out there walking, and it's crazy when you're paintballing at night. Because you can't see nothing. I mean, if you think it's hard to see stuff in the day and you're fogging, like, try fogging up at night. Like,
Jeez.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
So we're out there walking. You can't see anything. Everybody had, like, a little glow stick on their arm or on their gun. I think you had to have it, like, on your hopper and your arm, or maybe it's just your hopper. So you could kind of see, like, points of light, like, a little ways out there. But it was dark.
Yeah.
So we're walking along, and there's this big log on our left, and we're just kind of, like, brushing up against it and just walking and just seeing what we run into. And Kyle steps on an alien, legitimately steps on an alien. I'm not going to tell you where he stepped on this poor guy at, but the alien's just like, you're dead. And so anyway, it was just just scared the tar out of us, but it was so fun. It was so surprising. And the alien, he was so, like, funny about it. He was so cool.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that for us was just like one of those things you just don't get playing with 3 or 4 of your buddies, you know, on the weekend. Yeah. I mean, it was unique. It was fun. He just did an awesome job. It was an awesome event. Tons of people would show out. It was very competitive, very well balanced. It was just an awesome.
How many of those did you attend over the lifespan of Aliens
4 or
and Rockies?
5, probably.
4 or 5? Nice.
Yeah.
So that plants the early seeds with you of, like, man, this is never going to go away. This is always going to be a part of me one way or another.
Yep. Kind of gets in your blood.
There you go. Well, Alan, thanks for that. How many other
You're my
people?
hero, man.
How many people did you infect over the time? I just sent him a message today, and I was like, dude, like, I keep getting all these messages, and, like, this is awesome from all these players that used to play. You know, I think, you know, I aspire to be that on the Red Creek level. I'd love to get to those things and kind of get to that organization and those details. And I love that there's someone that's already done it. You know, it's not uncharted territory.
Yeah, true.
Like, you can definitely get there if you've got the right determination and passion and power. And I think
and the right team. I mean, Alan talked about it too, just how many guys just would sacrifice, you know, a ton of their time and effort, and would be building their, you know, he talked about the guy building the ghillie suit for a year just so he could use it at Aliens. I mean, you know, surrounding yourself by people like that, and I think you have, you know, you have a lot of support from your wife, from your friends. You know, I know people have come out and reffed and, you know, helped out, and it's awesome. It takes a whole, like, kind of like a village to raise a paintball game.
It kind of does, yeah. It definitely does, and we do aspire to be that way. But that's awesome. I think I appreciate you sharing that, because I think, you know, we got a very analytical approach from Alan, where it's like, dude, you want to know everything?
Smart guy.
Boom, 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 and it's like, man, you probably have this is all in a spreadsheet in his head.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, this guy is awesome, and you know, I've talked to him a little bit at length lately, and he's just like, dude, I've got so much in going on with his personal life that he's just like, for me to get where I need to be, like, he even understands. He's like, this is going to take over my 3 or 4 months of planning. Like, we are not going to miss any detail. If anything, we need to be better. So he knew kind of what it would take, and he's just like, I don't know if it's in the cards this year. We'll see kind of how things shake out. But that's really interesting, because I think that tells the story of kind of that history of paintball in Utah. You know, we do have some claim to fame out here in Utah, and
Yeah,
again,
people used to travel to come to Aliens.
yeah,
They for sure would. I remember talking to people from Wyoming, Nevada for sure. Idaho had a lot of people come down, and it was right on the Idaho border. But yeah, I mean, it was an event that people knew about.
Yeah.
You know, he said it was in the magazine. I can't remember which magazine he was talking about, but yeah, it was an awesome event for sure.
that's sweet. The next thing I really wanted to talk about, and I know we're kind of making our way through everything, is, you know, you've got a good team around you. Tell me a little bit about the team of players that you have that kind of come out and play with you. I know, you know, I give Kaden a lot of credit, and I think just like how I get some credit for Red Creek, I'll deny it and be like, hey, I've got a whole cast behind me that makes this thing turn.
For sure.
You're lucky enough to have him on a paintball team too, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So paintball for me is like we talked about, it's kind of in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, kind of the one person for sure is Kyle. We grew up kitty corner from each other, and his family owns the land that we paintball on in Ephraim.
Nice.
So, I mean, me and him have been paintballing together from the get-go, from forever ago. I think he started out with like a Brass Eagle Eradicator, piece of garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, paintball guns have come a long way. But yeah, I mean, me and Kyle have been doing this for a long time. You know, we played in tournaments, Woodsball tournaments back in the day. We would go to Aliens every year together. So, I mean, you know, from the get-go, you know, and he's my co-captain on Primal Effect. So we've been balling together for forever. It's almost like when like at the corn maze when, you know, Al and Bro Armory was putting that together, which was a fun event. You know, Kyle and I were going through the corn maze the first year we kind of got back into paintball, which was like 3-4 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going through there, and it's like I almost know exactly what Kyle's going to do because we've been balling together for so long, and kind of vice versa. So, I mean, for sure him. And my team's kind of funny because I kind of just handpicked, you know, all these people. Some of them as I watched them play, I liked their style of play.
Yeah.
And more than that, I respected them off the field for some of the things they were doing. The Benali brothers are just like top tier dudes. I mean, the one's an engineer. I mean, they're incredible guys.
Yeah.
And then you got my brother Jared, you got my stepbrother Jaron, we got Cole Lords, who's a bunch of fun. If you play with Cole, we always call him the pretty guy because he's like 6'3" and just gorgeous. So anyway, we've got this really fun group. Kelton, you know, some of them are my childhood friends, my family. Some of them I just kind of handpicked from the paintball community of guys that I respected, that I could see in them that they're great players on and off the field. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, that for sure. My squad is, I mean, that's kind of why I love paintball too, is you get with your bros, you know, and you can just go to war together. You know, it makes it really fun.
What other thing, like, I think people have like an idea of, oh, let's go get all the boys together and do this as your bachelor party or something. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a common thing at all these different places, and they have that exposure to paintball, and like we get that every time we suit up and every chance we get for the most part. And it's just like, it's interesting how far you could take it. So you mentioned one thing there, as you get back into paintball in the cornfield, you've tossed the little blue Walmart gun, and now you have adult money.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a meme. Like, when I get my adult money, watch out, because I'm buying everything, you know. And, you know, $1,000 paintball gun that's chump change. Like, I know how much fun we're about to have.
Yeah, well, and paintball, I mean, there's such a, like I said, it's come so far in the last 20 years from when I first started. A lot of the guns were literally plastic, you know, like you'd go buy a pump and the whole thing, the barrel, everything on it's plastic. And they had nice guns too back then, don't get me wrong, but it's just come so far. Like, I've owned probably 60 or 80 guns. I've owned some of the nicest guns out there. Diam 2s, LV1s, CS1s. I mean, I've tried to kind of buy like
a little bit of everything,
just kind of try them out. And I can tell you, there's so many good guns out there. It just makes it fun. And it's kind of part of the fun too. Like, you get to go out there and go to war. But, I mean, getting the gear is kind of fun too. I mean, having the most legit gun on the field is fun. You know, throwing a bunch of paint downfield is fun. Yeah.
My first experience playing against Kaden, he shows up in his green, remind me of your team name again.
Primal Effect
jersey, head to toe. Got some nice woolly mammoth skull kind of going on. I mean, I was like, oh man, who are these guys, you know? And it wasn't a normal weekend at Hobble Creek. I'm like, oh, these guys came out of nowhere. And sure enough, they all, you know, squat up together, and we're opposite of them. And, you know, I'm playing with Chad for once, and I get to take on this team. And all of a sudden, from the top left ridge, I still remember this, I start hearing this almost like a woodpecker noise, and it's just like going off. And I'm like, the diadem is on the ridge. And you had the diadem. I was like, the diadem is top left. Like, we had to tell everybody that the dam
it struck
was up
some fear
there.
into the hearts.
That when that thing shoots, man, if you've heard it, if you've seen the videos, I'm sure you do. If you don't know what we're talking about, this is pretty much a light machine gun, a box rotor on the bottom. I think it fits about 250 rounds or something on the bottom. 320.
Yeah. Fully loaded. I mean, it was a total beast.
And it doesn't miss a beat. You just hold that thing down, and that's your territory.
Auto, 3-round burst. I mean,
yeah.
It was definitely fun. And that's kind of the role I play. You know, I'd call it like a heavy gunner.
Yeah.
I'm not fast. Like, if you've ever played with me, you know I'm not fast. But I'll throw a lot of paint. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. What are you working with now in terms of gear?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because you go through phases in paintball. Like, you know, some they want the shiny, you know, expensive gun that, you know, people call them like laser guns or space guns.
Space guns, it gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, I've owned a lot of those. I've owned CS1s, like I kind of talked about. I've owned 3 different diadems at different points.
Jeez.
So I've owned a bunch of that. Where I am now, I actually just sold my Empire Defender.
Nice. We just saw that posted.
Sad. Yeah. I mean, I loved that gun. That was an amazing gun.
Did you sell it in Salt Lake or did it ship out?
So I shipped it to New York, Staten Island, New York this morning.
Nice.
So kind of sad to get rid of that. Empire Defender is such a fun gun. I just had problems with mine and probably problems that I made. I mean, I don't know.
That's half the battle.
But I mean, I can't even imagine how many cases of paint I've shot with that thing.
That's awesome.
You know, just tons. So now I run MagFed's kind of one of those new things in paintball that was not around for a long time. You know, it's fairly recent. So I own an MG100 from Planet Eclipse.
Awesome.
It is revolutionary for me. Like I said, I've owned 3 diadems. Not a single one ever worked correctly with MagFed. I always had issues.
That is true.
I love the dam, but I just always had issues. So anyway, I got the MG100 and it just works. Just flat out, it shoots, it works. I think it's beautiful. It's a great gun. So
I put a stat out kind of to wrap the end of last year, and I said I have sold more MG 100s, EMF 100s or through Planet Eclipse than I think of any other gun, and that is the one thing that keeps getting asked. You know, you have something that can shoot brittle paint, and it's soft on paint. You've got a mag, you know, that is pretty reliable, and you have some options now. You have the FID,
diadem mag,
CF20, diadem mag, shorty, tolly, do the whole thing. So I think that's really interesting, you know, as this evolves. And, you know, I kind of jumped on your bandwagon a little bit and said, okay, you did this with Utah Woodsball Series. We need a monthly MagFed only game. So we can turn these people out. And I think people will come and buy into it a little bit more. I think a lot of the people purchasing MG100s are like, yeah, let's continue this movement and grow that little scenario genre. And, you know, kind of do that. So we host a monthly MagFed game, much like how I think you're planning to be probably about once a month in terms of your Utah Woodsball Series. And we'll kind of overlap or maybe combine on some of those dates. But I think that drives that scenario genre. You can't show up with a MagFed gun to a tournament and have much success.
No,
you might have some success, but you're not going to have a ton. And I think that grows that mentality of like, let's get out there and do kind of what Airsoft is doing. Well, don't mention that. You know, can't mention it. It's a paintball podcast, I promise. No, Airsoft. We'll talk to an Airsoft a little bit later on this show. And the reason being is the man who organizes and produces games down in St. George, his name's Brandon Robinson. I'm hinting to who's coming up and who will eventually be on here. The detail, the level of detail. These airsofters do not have the most realistic guns. I'm going to say that. They've got some cool stuff, but I think their realism stops at that blowback, that pain, the magazine size, and all these different things. So they rely on a lot of these detailed games that are so immersive of it's like, oh, you have to talk to so-and-so, you have to do this, you have to do that.
Actual and it's kind of missions. And
it's like role playing a little bit. It's a very depth thing. You know, nothing against paintballers, but you know, as much as I know, if you give someone, you know, a 2-page document to read, they're going to be like, which way do I shoot, bro? Like, toss this in the shredder. And I think, you know, we need to find a happy medium there because I think we could get to more depths of our games. I think Aliens in the Rockies is a deeper game. You've got people that aren't shooting at all, and they're just meant to communicate with you. So I think we want to get to that level, and I think we're planting those seeds by people buying MG 100s, EMF 100s, and being able to do a MagFed only game. I know I kind of went on a tangent there. I was like,
no,
trying to be a poster boy for MagFed, but I feel like I feel like a lot of people will bridge that gap, and even more so with the people that are shooting live rounds, real still. You know what I mean? I think there's a closer what is that? A closer synergy.
Yeah.
Pretty close to that, to where it's like, hey, come and shoot people. Don't shoot targets every weekend. Come try this. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I love real guns. I love real steel. I love shooting.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about, like, it's fun to be at the range and shooting stuff.
Yeah.
To me, it's a whole different dynamic of actually getting out, and the tactics of paintball. It's fun. To me, it's a lot more dynamic than just shooting at the range, which, again, I enjoy. I'm not trying to bash on anybody who's loves to go to the range and shoot. It's fun. Yeah. But paintball, to me, just kind of takes that next step of, in depth, just getting out there. And kind of what you were saying, too, of kind of the storytelling aspect of paintball. Something that Alan Turner and, Aliens in the Rockies was really good at. Kind of bringing the players more than just, laying paint, downwind, of actually, telling a story, being a part of something, doing missions. Right. It was fun. But you have kind of that, what you want, but then you have kind of what the player's willing to do. So
you got to play.
We got to bridge it somehow.
So tell me a little bit. You mentioned we've talked a little bit in the past, and I've gotten some exposure to it. I didn't even catch the tail end. I'm just catching what's remaining about Spec Ops. Spec Ops paintball. You said that Aliens of the Rockies and Spec Ops kind of went hand in hand. Tell me what that was all about from the player side of it. It's just like, what is this?
Spec Ops paintball in Utah used to be just huge, and it kind of paired perfectly, I think, with Aliens in the Rockies. It was during that whole time where Spec Ops was huge. Spec Ops was a paintball store that was in North Salt Lake. It was off Redwood Road, I think. They were super innovative. At the time, there was no mag-fed paintball. There wasn't a first strike. So what these guys did, and you can actually look this up on YouTube, look up the Woodsball Revolution. It was a huge, for me it was huge. Like, I've talked a lot about Aliens in the Rockies, which was huge for me too. The Woodsball Revolution, the marketing, the videos that these guys would do were just super cool, like way beyond anything that anyone else was doing in the industry.
That's cool.
Yeah, they had some very just cinematic stuff. They had just a bunch of information that was just really fun. They had different loadouts. They had light, what was it? Light infantry, light rifleman, I think, medium, heavy gunner, hammer. I mean, they had just some different kind of loadouts to, like, this is the type of person you are. This is the type of person you are.
That's funny. Brody mentioned that on this last podcast. He's like saber and like these different
broadsword.
Names. Names of these vests and these loadouts, and it's just like,
and it probably sounds weird, like, just saying that, but you guys got to look it up. We
will. I'll put some images in here for the people that are enjoying the show.
They were super good, and not only just on the marketing and video side, but in products. They were huge innovators at the time. They came up with, like, the air through stock systems that you see.
Nice.
Like a lot of Tippmann's run. It would, like, went into, like, the tombstone, came back in through the stock. They're the ones who, I believe, designed that and came out with that. Eventually, Tippmann, I think, bought them out, if I remember right. They partnered with Tippmann, and I think got bought out eventually. But anyway, they had some sweet gear. Their soft goods, like their vests and stuff, were top notch. Like,
and that's a Utah company.
That was a Utah company.
So shout out to Jason. Orvis?
Yeah, and I've never met Jason, but apparently he's the owner. Yeah, and I have heard of him for sure. I remember reading. They had a magazine too, Recon. The magazine was huge. I mean, very high quality, really cool stuff. And maybe it was that I was 14 or 15. Maybe if I saw it now, it wouldn't be that cool. But I think it would be. I think it was super cool.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think and try to parallel kind of who's doing that now. I mean, you have some big names, First Strike, they come out with the FSR, the shaped round. Imagine if Jason would have, been able to push Spec Ops all the way into this era and genre. Now it's just like, oh, this is exactly what you were kind of doing. You were doing it for what you had back then, but now it's like, look at how this has evolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally evolved, totally. Another big company, and I think they were in North Salt Lake too, was Opsgear. I don't know if you've heard of Opsgear, but they did like paintball shrouds, so they kind of made it look, again, kind of like that scenario style paintball. They had shrouds that would go over your gun that made it look like, I had one that was the M249 saw, so it made it, you felt like a badass strolling around with this thing. Super crazy heavy, but but they were awesome. So there was these companies who were really trying, and it's funny now, like we talk about first strike rounds, which legit have changed, in my mind, all of paintball in the industry. And moving forward, it's going to be, the way to go if you're a scenario paintball player and you love playing from range.
Yeah.
So I wish we had that back in the day. I think some of these companies might still be around and kicking.
Yeah, that's crazy. I like that. I like the blaze a trail thing. You know what I mean? Let's do it different. I think you have the reliability of Tippmann. You have a lot of early brands kind of developing their flagship markers. And here comes, Spec Ops. And it's like, let's twist this into the scenario.
Yep.
The scenario loadout. That's awesome. I think I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of talk. And I really wanted to segue before we got off here. What does Utah Woodsball Series has in store for us? I know there hasn't been a schedule completely released up to this point. What's kind of that planning looking like for this year, maybe years to come, some goals that you have?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I was actually just talking to Peyton Hatch about this last night, about making games more immersive. Mm-hmm. We kind of talked about storytelling in paintball and just making the events more, kind of more to it than just shooting paintballs. So, I mean, I think that's part of what's in store. I would love to do some more storytelling, love to do some more scenario-style play.
Yeah.
I think that's a big aspect of what I want to do, what I think would be really fun. The trouble is to do that, you kind of need an army you need people to show up and support the vendors. But then you also need that team that we've talked about, mm-hmm. of all the people behind the scenes who make stuff happen, who are there to prep the field, who are there to, man the different stations, who are there to ref. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices in paintball that kind of go unnoticed a lot of times of the people behind the scenes. So it takes a lot of stuff I want to do is going to need more people.
Manpower,
it's just going to need more resources, in that way. So I do a lot of like one of Peyton's ideas, and Peyton, I'm sure you're listening. So one of his ideas was to have drones. So each general is going to have a drone that they can go out and kind of make sweeps of the area, see what's going on, direct their troops. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea that he had. That's unique. I've never seen that anywhere. So, hopefully we can, maybe he was hoping to keep that a secret or something, but anyway, it's out now. So yeah, here on the Shooters Only podcast.
There you go. An exclusive. Thank you.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, we want to make it more immersive in that way. And kind of towards that end, we had a game a year and a half ago at Action Center Paintball up in Mountain Green. It's kind of like northeast of Ogden, kind of up the mountain.
Northerners, shout out. Go get out and support Action Center.
And that field's been around for a long time. I did not know about it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how I didn't know about it. Yeah. I know he caters a lot to like the prom groups, stuff like that. I think that's how he actually like makes money, because us paintballers don't like.
We don't like paint.
No, we don't. So anyway, he has a great field. It's just kind of tucked away. It's kind of by the airport. Really unique. He's got a lot of like big bunkers. I mean, it's a really cool field.
Awesome.
Like you just wouldn't know it's there. But anyway, we've been talking with them. They have a really great owner, and we want to do more with them. I don't want to keep kind of harping on it, but all the problems with the pandemic and everything put a halt to some of those kind of bigger plans. But hopefully by this fall we'll be able to do some of those things that we really want to do, some big, really cool, unique things. And and we'll make do until then anyway. We're gonna have some fun events, do hopefully some new things. But that's a couple things that are kind of on the horizon.
That's cool. I think one thing that we'll kind of leave off on, and I'm always looking at venues, always looking at places to play, what opportunities we have. And one thing that I'm really envious about of Airsoft, they're able to secure locations that are bar none, stuff that I don't know if we don't have the thinking or the resources or connections, but Airsoft has been able to secure like buildings and like different major metro areas, stuff that is being demolished. That is such a out of the box thinking of, hey, you're going to demo this school anyways. Let us get a 1-day permit and host this one event, charge whatever we need to cover our insurance. Mm-hmm. And before everyone knocks this school over, let's go play. Like, let's get out and do that room clearing, that kick a door down.
CQB, urban.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And, they're hinting at it right now. So I want to try to also step in and piggyback if I know the right people. There's an old RC Willie's in Murray. and they're like, we're going to have a game here. Get these guys on it because they've already had people to connect those dots. And I'm like, man, could you imagine a Utah Woodsball Series event? You'd have to cap it almost. You'd have to be like, hey, we have this much square footage. We do about 100 people. And you probably do a sell ticket to cover your insurance, your day of events and stuff. Boom, done deal. So who knows people that are getting buildings demoed? Yeah. Tell me which building's getting demoed, and let's connect all those dots and let's figure it out. Because I think that would be some one of a kind experiences.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen those YouTube videos of the guys in, I don't know how they do it, all the guys in Europe.
Oh,
just have I don't know how, castles. Like these old like army bases and castles and just crazy. I mean, you see them like come in on boats and like beach land and then come in and paintball. I mean, some of the stuff that you do in Europe is crazy, and you know, maybe we should start thinking bigger.
Yeah. My wife would be pretty upset to hear, hey, we're finally going to Europe, honey. We're going for
paintball.
A big game. We're going for a European big game, and this is going to be it for 4 days.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd go with you.
Let's do it. Let's do it in a heartbeat. We can take a whole Utah crew. Yep. There you go. Well, that's awesome. Kaden, I appreciate you joining me today. You shared a lot of great insight with the Utah paintball players. Your face and name that everyone knows, I think, within the community. And from me to you, I really appreciate everything that you've done. Because just as much as I wanted to look around and be like, who's going to do this next? Who's going to lead the charges? Like, it really feels good to have multiple people in this and to have someone that's just for the love of paintball, man. So thank you for what you do and your contributions. I look forward to working with you for many years to come.
Thank you.
We'll probably be back on this podcast when this thing comes back around and be like, man, look at us.
Well, we got 5,000 people out to our paintball games and having fun.
That'd be sweet, man. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you watching all the way up to the end minute mark here. Share this podcast with somebody that is interested in paintball. Tell them a little bit about what we're doing. I get comments all the time that say, man, I didn't know this was paintball. This was Utah paintball. I thought you were going to take me to some run down field and throw me in the turf or something. That's not the case. This is something that is going on. It's alive. It's breathing.
It's growing.
We need to build it up, but we need your help kind of getting this word out and just making sure people have, access to fields, access to guns, ammo, and all the different things. So thank you for watching this far. We'll check you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.